Really? Okay. That's really impressive. Like, seriously. Wow. Okay. This is insane. This is blowing my mind. That's really shocking to me. What? What is up? Welcome back. Today I'm reacting to a video titled Why Sweden is So Good at Startups. I know Sweden started Spotify and so many other things. I'm going blank right now, but I have been discovering this amazing, beautiful country for so long, so I can't wait to see what else they have started. What is up? If you haven't met me yet, my name is Aaron, and this is Aaron on Reacts. Through this channel, I'm discovering everything about Europe, the people, the culture, the sports, anything you can imagine. My goal is to journey through each of these beautiful countries and get to know the people and the culture completely. If you want to be a part of that journey, make sure you hit like and subscribe so you're going to see another video just like this in the future. But now let's get into why Sweden is so good at startups. Let's go.
As you might already know, Europe doesn't do that well with startups. In the 50 years between 1975
Really? Okay.
and 2025, for instance, Europe produced just 14 homegrown companies worth over $10 billion. In the same time, the US produced 241. Similarly,
Wow.
at the start of last year, the US hosted nearly 700 private companies valued at over $1 billion,
All right, that's insane.
colloquially known as unicorns. The EU, meanwhile, had just over 100, although that number has grown a fair bit in the 18 months since. One notable exception, however, is Sweden. Sweden has produced a remarkable number of unicorns, including big names like Spotify, Klarna, and iZettle, and now
I don't know Klarna and iZettle. What are those? What are those? I don't know what those are.
hosts a bunch of Europe's biggest AI companies, like Sana, Legora, and Lovable. On a
Wow,
per
okay.
capita basis, Sweden consistently churns out more unicorns than any other European country, apart from maybe Iceland. So, in this video, we thought we'd try to figure out why Sweden does so well with startups, and what lessons there might be for the rest of Europe.
Let's go. Sweden producing all these unicorn businesses. That's so amazing. They're also producing crazy singers, by the way, Max Martin, and the list goes on. You already know the story.
So, let's get straight into it.
Wait, real quick. I'm going to just jump in here and say I don't know anything about Swedish startups. I'm really just very fresh into discovering that Sweden is producing so many things that are just blowing my mind. It's a powerhouse. It is a powerhouse of a country, and they have incredible people. I'm still yet to discover the food, but in terms of business, I know they have IKEA. Oh, I forgot about that one earlier. IKEA is an amazing business. Do you know any of these Swedish startups that we're about to get into before he gets into it?
When you ask Swedes about this, they often point to Sweden's knack for innovation. To be fair, Sweden does frequently top the EU's annual innovation scoreboard, and last year the World Intellectual Property Organization ranked Sweden second in innovation, only
Wow,
to
okay.
Switzerland, and just ahead of the US. This is in some part a reflection of Sweden's impressive education system. In Sweden, university is free, and students can get loans for living expenses. Today, Sweden's workforce is impressively well educated. 1/3 of the population and more than half of the people between 25 and 34 have some form of higher education.
Whoa, okay. Half the people between 25 and 34 have higher education. That's really impressive. Like, seriously.
Which has given way to higher levels of innovation. Sweden was also ahead of the curve on digital technology. In the 1990s, as part of a wider liberalisation drive, the Swedish government introduced tax incentives for corporate tech investment, digitised some public services, and invested heavily in fibre optic internet. By
Wow, okay.
2005, about 75% of homes had a computer, and Sweden was one of the world's most digitally connected countries. This has helped Sweden's tech sector punch above its weight, a trend that has continued into the AI era.
Wow, okay. This is insane. This is blowing my mind. By 2005, 75% of homes had a computer. I don't think the US was anywhere near that by 2005, like not even close.
But these reasons don't feel like they fully explain Sweden's unique outperformance. After all, lots of other European countries have innovative workforces and great education systems, and the tech gap between Sweden and the rest of Europe has closed in recent years. So, what else could it be? Well, as we see it, another big but underappreciated reason that startups seem to fare so well in Sweden is the depth of Sweden's so-called capital markets. For context,
Okay.
capital markets basically refer to any form of financing that doesn't involve borrowing from a bank. Capital markets are especially important for startups because banks don't generally like making what they see as unpalatably risky loans to start.
Okay, interesting. So, are a lot of startups, tech startups in Sweden, funded by private individuals? It says not borrowed by bank, but it also mentioned incentives from the government earlier. Is the government in Sweden funding any of these startups? That's an interesting question.
Startups. Capital markets can be split into two: the private market and the public market. When we talk about the private market, we're basically talking about finding some venture capitalist or other private investor who'll lend you the money. When we talk about the public market, we're basically talking about listing your company and selling shares in it on a publicly traded stock exchange. Anyway, Sweden has remarkably deep capital markets in both the private and public markets. In the private markets, Swedish funds, including pension funds and insurance funds, are pretty massive relative to Sweden's GDP and invest more than their European counterparts in small-cap companies. There's also a wide network of so-called angel investors, especially in and around Stockholm, many of whom got rich betting on the prior generation of Swedish unicorns. Sweden's public markets are just as good, as evidenced by the popularity of the Swedish stock market. According to an analysis by Dealogic, in the decade running up to 2024,
Okay, I'm trying to process right now. I don't know anything about the Swedish stock market, literally nothing. So that's interesting. I imagine, I don't know. I mean, is there a lot of foreign investment? I mean, obviously I know the U.S. stock market's huge. I don't know much about the Swedish one, but I'm trying to think right now if I would imagine there to be a lot of foreign investment into that stock market. I guess so, because of the huge companies, high advanced. Yeah, I guess so. That makes sense. But how much is the question?
500 companies listed in Sweden, more than the total number of IPOs in France, Germany, the Netherlands and Spain combined, and not miles away from the UK, despite the fact that the UK economy is about 6 times that of Sweden. In 2025, Sweden actually saw more IPOs than even London, including a $4.26 billion IPO for Verisure, Europe's largest IPO in at least 3 years. IPOs are also remarkably popular with smaller companies, and Swedish firms are far more likely than their European peers to go public. All in all, Sweden has the deepest capital markets of any EU member state, and even deeper than those in the UK, despite its world-renowned financial sector, which is why Swedish companies rely surprisingly little on foreign financing.
Interesting. Okay, that's the question I was trying to answer a minute ago. So they don't rely heavily on foreign financing. Wow, okay. That's really shocking to me. A country with around 10 million people is able to fund their stock market. It's really impressive. Are individuals in Sweden very invested in the public funds? That's I guess that'd be my next question.
So, why are Sweden's capital markets so great? Well, the fundamental reason seems to be that Swedish households are far more likely than their counterparts in the rest of Europe to actually invest their savings.
This is literally, I feel like every time I ask a question, he immediately answers it, which is crazy.
Swedish households invest over half of their savings in stocks.
What?
More than twice the average in the euro area, whilst keeping just 19% of their assets in cash.
That's shocking.
Lowest in the EU. This is both good news for Swedish savers, who generally see better returns on their savings than other Europeans sitting on cash, and great news for Sweden's capital markets. So, why are Swedes so keen on investing? Well, it's in part because Swedes are pretty financially literate, and thus more aware of the fact that they'll get better returns by investing in stocks rather than sitting on cash.
All right, I got a question. Classic follow-up here. Do you learn this stuff in university or do you learn in high school? Like this is kind of blowing my mind. Do you learn a lot about finances and money and like how to actually use money and stocks and this kind of really sophisticated investment strategies and stuff? Because we do not learn that in the US. That is not part of our curriculum. That's actually one of the major complaints about US schooling is that we don't learn how to take care of money. Maybe that's why the US people spend so much. It's such a consumer market. No one knows how to take care of money and they don't know how to invest it. So I'm really shocked right now listening to this video and learning how much the Swedish people are investing. If you're Swedish, is this accurate? Is this video actually holding up to you or is this some kind of baloney?
A World Bank study from 2018, for instance, found that Swedes were quite literally the most financially literate people in the world.
Wow.
Matched only by Norwegians and Danes. But it's also a consequence of consistent public policy efforts to encourage investment.
Okay, interesting. Is there maybe some kind of tax incentives? How do they encourage investment? Maybe just schooling, like I was mentioned? I'm trying to think how.
Far back as 1984, the Swedish government introduced Allemanspar, a product enabling ordinary Swedes to invest in stock markets, decades before most other European countries developed similar schemes. By 1990, there were already 1.7 million of these accounts, and subsequent rule changes in the 1990s allowed people to invest 2.5% of their pensions into stocks of their choice. In 2012, the government also introduced a new investment product called the IS.
Hold on a second, let me go back here. The government introduced a bill that 2.5% of the money going towards their savings, they could freely get to use in the stock market. So they're literally teaching them that they can take their pension and use it on the stock. Wow, okay.
In 2012, the government also introduced a new investment product called the ISK, which allows Swedes to invest a certain amount of their savings in funds and stocks at a lower tax rate. Sort of the Swedish equivalent to an ISA, but without a cash option. The ISK has become incredibly popular in Sweden, with nearly 4 million unique account holders in 2023, roughly a third of Sweden's entire population.
What?
The ISK has been so successful that the EU is apparently looking to it as a model for a future EU-wide saving and investment account, in the hopes of getting Europeans across the continent to invest more of their savings and thus improve the depth of Europe's capital markets.
Wow, this is an amazing plan.
But if an EU-wide account proves too politically contentious, the other lessons for European policymakers here is that improving financial literacy could be a relatively cheap and easy way of improving both household and national finances on the continent.
Absolutely.
As we mentioned earlier, the latest edition... Insane. I am stunned. Sweden is so advanced, and I'm really taken aback that over 50% of the funds of each home goes into the stock market. That's really blowing my mind. I don't know if that's true. Savings is only 19% because they're investing so much money. Sweden seems like it's just advanced. Let's say it that way. It's using biofuel to fuel these buses and stuff. Like, there's so much happening in this amazing country that just keeps blowing my mind. If you're from Sweden, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your opinion on all this stuff. And what do you think? Is this stuff correct? Is it right? Is it wrong? Has it advanced even more from the time of this video a couple months ago? Yeah, I would really love to hear from you, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, if you did learn something, and if you want to see another one just like this, make sure you hit like and subscribe. As always, I got to give a shout out to my channel members. Thank you, channel members, for joining me on this channel and supporting me so much on my journey. I'm going to keep bringing you those exclusive videos, and every single video I post, you will see it first. If you have video recommendations, drop that down in the Google form down below. And if you want to buy a coffee and request a video, you can always do that as well. So thank you so much for your support as always, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. I hope you have a great night. Cheers.